the 5 worst mistakes beginner drone pilots make that can lead to losing their drone. Welcome to another video from the Gedan.Com channel. In this video, I will talk about the most common mistakes beginner drone pilots make that can lead to losing their drone. Did you know that the global drone market is projected to reach $54 billion by 2030? This explosive growth shows how these incredible machines are revolutionizing several industries and becoming increasingly accessible to enthusiasts and professionals. Used to capture cinematic aerial footage, perform safe and efficient inspections, or simply have fun exploring the skies, drones have opened up a world of possibilities. But to get the most out of this experience, it is essential to learn the basics and avoid common mistakes that can turn your dream flight into a nightmare. Stay tuned for essential tips that will ensure safe flights, stunning footage, and lots of fun. Main common mistakes made by drone beginners, top 5. The first one I will highlight is starting to fly before the drone registers the starting point or home point. Nowadays, new drones are flying further and further, and after 1 kilometer, you will probably lose visual contact with the drone. When you start a flight to go far away, where you cannot see the drone, it is essential to wait for the drone to register the starting point before flying. This act can save your drone in several situations. I will mention some. 1. Loss of control signal. 2. Control shut down for any reason, crash/lack of battery. 3. Low battery. If you do not take this precaution at the beginning of the flight, the drone will return to a position where it marked the starting point, which may be far from your position, and, worst of all, it may be in an unsuitable place for landing. In places where the GPS signal is weaker, such as places very close to buildings, surrounding metalwork and electromagnetic interference, it can take up to a few minutes to register the starting point. See this example with the autel Evo Nano Plus drone, leaving a complicated location where weaker drones cannot stabilize. On this day, since there were people in the ideal places to start the flight, I decided to test in other places, but all of them were indicating electromagnetic interference, usually generated by live wires that pass under the roof. So when I started the flight, the battery was already at 95%. Note that I only actually start the flight when the home point was registered. This also ensures that there is an adequate GPS signal. So I was able to fly far into the city without the risk of losing the drone. Second mistake, not charging the battery before flying. Charging the battery before flying is another important point. Failure to charge it may generate inaccurate information about the current battery charge, creating a high risk of losing the drone. I have seen several reports from drone users who mention that the battery suddenly dropped a lot, like from 80% to 30%, and if the drone is far away, it cannot return. Third mistake, storing the battery fully charged. Another common problem is thinking it is a good idea to store the battery with 100% charge. In addition to considerably reducing the battery's useful life, it can also generate, as mentioned in the previous item, an inaccuracy in the value reported for the battery charge during flight. On the Gedan.Com channel, you can find a video tutorial with more tips to keep your battery's useful life longer. I will leave the link in the description. Fourth mistake, turning on a drone without removing the gimbal protection. Every time you turn on a drone with a gimbal, it tends to move the gimbal in all directions to check the status of this important drone system and if the protection is maintained. In addition to the drone not being able to perform this test, it is very likely to damage the drone's gimbal. Fifth mistake, not configuring the return to home correctly. When configuring the return to home, you must keep in mind that the drone has to return without obstacles in front of it, and for this, you must configure the height at which it will return to be higher than the highest object it will encounter on the way, mountains, buildings, towers, etc. Let's suppose you're flying in a region with 30-story buildings. In this case, it is advisable to configure the return home to a height higher than 95 meters. I hope these tips help those new to this adventure of flying drones safely. If you want more videos with tips on drones, make a request in the comments. I will do my best to accommodate you. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. You can also watch the Portuguese version of this video on the Gedan.Com channel.